I kind of save my money, and later when I need something important like a house or a car, I can use this a little bit to help me out.
Did you learn how to manage your money the hard way? How would you like to save your kids from going through the same painful lessons? Kids have some crazy ideas about money, but one thing they all know from a young age is how to spend it. Do your children think cash just pops out of an ATM, ready to grant their every wish? If you want to set the record straight, stick around. We're going to teach you how to help your kids become money wise. Hello and welcome to Money Wise. I'm Kelvin Boston. In this episode, we're going to go beyond allowance to give you the building blocks to start your children on the path to financial independence, kind of a Kids and Cash 101. In this complex financial world, money management is one of the most important skills your kids will need to survive and prosper. And they're never too young to begin to learn the value of money. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce my in-studio guest. Janet Bodner is better known to many parents as Dr. Tightwad. She's the senior editor of Kiplinger's Personal Finance magazine, and she has 2 books out, Dr. Tightwad's Money Smart Kids, and a title all parents can relate to, Mom, Can I Have That? I want to thank you for joining us, Dr. Tightwad.
Oh, thank you.
Now, it's interesting in your book, you have a point where you say that parents should not tell their kids, don't you know the value of money? Why not?
Because of course they don't know the value of money. It's kind of one of those throwaway phrases that parents use with their kids, you know, platitudes, very simple responses to frustrations that the parents have with the kids, but it doesn't really tell them anything. You're the one who has to instill in them the values of money. They're not going to know it just by osmosis.
Okay. Dora Duguay is the executive director of the Jumpstart Coalition. It's made up of over 70 organizations working to improve the financial literacy of young Americans. Dora, why is it important for our kids to learn about money before they leave home?
Well, if they don't learn about money before they leave home, they're going to be encountering a lot of situations where they're going to unfortunately be making, in many cases, the wrong decisions. They're going to have to understand about finance before they know how to balance their checkbook, before they know how to allocate money in their 401k plan and how to do a budget. And unfortunately, these are very important skills, are skills that most kids are not learning before they leave home.
Thank you. Bill Stosky is a former stockbroker and currently founder and president of Cash University. In a moment, we're going to meet Bill's family and learn how they got over the gimmies. Bill, you say that this is about more than just teaching your kids about money. What's the bottom line?
Well, the bottom line, Calvin, is real world. We have a chance as parents and educators to prepare these kids for the real world. And if we don't do that, they're going to wind up having a real problem.
We have a lot to cover in this half hour. If you think that kids are learning about money at school, we'll tell you why that may not be the case, and even if they are, why it may not be enough.
Knowledge TV Retro, brought to you by Jones International University, the first fully online accredited university. Change your life for the better on your schedule. 8-week classes begin next month. Visit jiu.edu to find out more.
So that they're not getting into debt, you know. They don't even see that as an option, you know. Getting it before you have the money, it just doesn't happen.
That's one of Bill Stosky's Cash University customers. It also happens to be his wife, Lisa. Bill was managing other people's investments for a living when it hit him that his own kids didn't understand the value of money. His frustration over his kids' value led him to start a new life as an entrepreneur. Let's take a look. Justin is like a lot of 12-year-olds. He's into music and dreamed of owning his own set of drums. But unlike many kids his age, Justin appreciates his new drums beyond the enjoyment they bring. He knows how much the drums are worth, and not just how much they cost.
Well, I look for like the best quality. I read about them first and then find out what's good and what's real, like dinky and all that.
I realized that kids really didn't understand the value of what they had. They didn't understand the money. They didn't understand the concept of earning or of responsibility for what they had, and I knew I had to do something at that point.
That realization led Bill Stosky to take drastic measures. He quit his high-paying job to devote himself to developing a product to teach children that money doesn't grow on trees.
So let's go ahead and add all that up then.
Cash University provides the curriculum for parents to teach their kids a kind of personal finance 101. At the moment, Justin wants an expensive electric guitar.
Why don't we have you mow the yard too?
His parents then hired Justin to do chores around the house to earn the money he needs for the guitar.
Lisa and I are both working, and we need the help. And for them to be able to pitch in and be compensated for it's terrific.
Not only do the kids now have to earn their own money to buy the things they want, Cash U also imposes penalties for bad behavior.
At first I thought it was kind of dumb. It was like they're kind of bribing us with it. Like, if you don't do this, we can take money off. And then I guess it kind of made you think about it for a while. And then it made sense. It gives you a little more pride, because then you can say, like, I bought this with my own money.
It has changed the life of my family. All I do is Saturday morning, they have breakfast, and I say, okay, you guys, go check your charts. And they go check their charts, and, oh, they're off. They like goals. They want goals, and they want rules.
The Stoskys believe those rules are forming a solid foundation for their kids' financial future.
They know the rules ahead of time. They know what's expected of them. They know that effort equals reward. They know that if they want something, they're going to have to set it as a goal and figure out a way to earn it.
Bill, what do you think made you come up with the idea that this could help other families?
Well, Calvin, it really worked well with our own kids, and as they first started attaining their goals, the neighbors were seeing the new bike in town, and it wasn't their birthday, it wasn't Christmas. How'd you get this new bike? And by telling the other kids how it all came about, other kids in the neighborhood were interested, and that's when the light bulb clicked on for me. Hey, there's something here beyond my family. And there are other parents out there that need this kind of system.
And some parents are opposed to paying their kids for doing chores around the house. How do you feel about this?
Well, I think what's interesting is about Bill's system is that parents sometimes try to pay their kids on for work done around the house as part of the allowance, but they have trouble keeping track of the chores, and so the whole system breaks down. And what Bill's figured out is how to do this and actually make the system work. A lot of parents don't like the idea of paying for chores, but then they sort of say, well, but then doesn't that seem like a handout to the kids? And they're sort of torn. Dr. Tightwad's case, or advice in a case like that, is to always tie strings to the money in some form. And if it's not a chore-based system, such as Bill's, then it's a responsibilities with the money type system. So, for example, if you're going to give your kids an allowance, they are now going to be responsible for buying their own baseball cards or paying for their own movies or whatever it is they like to spend money on.
Okay.
They give you lots of information and they don't get mad when you make a mistake, and they laugh a lot when, not like at you, but with you.
Would you believe he's talking about a bank? In Denver, Colorado, some kids are getting a head start in the world of personal finance. At Young Americans Bank, the oldest customer is 21.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'd like to make a transaction, okay.
Okay. Deposit?
It's like a real bank. Well, it is a real bank, but it makes you feel like you're, like, really old.
Here, kids can do almost everything their parents do at their banks. They can open a savings and checking account, get their own credit card, even take out a loan.
You are the borrower. Please check and make sure that's your social. And your mother is the co-borrower. Your interest rate is 10.5%.
May I please have these coins counted?
Sure. You don't have to live in Denver to have an account at Young Americans Bank, but the kids who come here say the hands-on experience can't be beat.
I've learned how to write kind of checks a little bit. Like, I know it now that I have to sign my name and how much money. I've learned just a lot from coming to the bank.
Many banks will be happy to open an account for your child, but at a regular bank, you may have to take on the role of the teacher. Now, if you assume that your children are learning all they need to know about money management in school, Dara is here to say, think again. What's the reality, Dara?
Well, the reality is that personal finance is not taught widespread in our nation's school system. It's primarily taught in elective classes. It tends to be business classes or the old home ec, which is now family consumer science. We found in a national study of high school seniors that we conducted last year that only 1 out of 10 children was learning anything about personal finance before they graduated.
Now, we found in our research there is a lot of information that teachers can use about personal money management. Why aren't they using it?
There is curriculum out there, but there's no place to put it. And that's what Jumpstart is working really hard on, is to try to get personal finance into what's called the state standards. The different states have standards for different disciplines like economics and math and business. And many states also have exiting requirements. And quite frankly, if personal finance does not appear either in the state standards or in the exiting requirements, it's not going to be part of the curriculum. So we're working very, very hard to change that.
Let me ask Dr. Tightwad her opinion on this issue.
No, I'm glad you did, Kelvin, because I wanted to say, you know, schools may be a little intimidated by this, but they don't really have to do all that much. I was doing some work with some students in a school last year, actually my daughter's 7th grade class, and what I found was the kids had a sort of basic working knowledge of a lot of financial concerns, but they didn't have the specific details, and that even with a rather limited program that just sort of focused on the details, sort of filling in the holes in the kids' perceptions, they could really accomplish a lot. It wouldn't have to take a lot of time and effort on the part of the teachers if they knew that they could accomplish a lot with a small amount of effort and a large amount of curriculum that's available.
You want to add anything to this, Sarah?
Sure. You know, parents, we found in our study, taught the kids primarily. About 60% of the students learned from their parents. It's great if the parents themselves are educated and competent to teach their children about personal finance, but unfortunately many of them are not. If you look at the rising personal bankruptcy in this country, last year 1.35 million bankruptcies, up 20% of the previous year. Unfortunately, that shows that a lot of parents are not providing a good example. So if we can help by providing the parents with more education themselves so they become competent teachers, great. And also by teaching in the schools where you hopefully have trained professionals. The more places they can learn about personal finance, the better.
Well, it's time to get your pen ready again. Next, we'll go through a parent's checklist to make sure that you're taking your kids into account as you plan your own finances. First, you can learn more about the Jumpstart Coalition by calling it up at the web. JumpstartCoalition.org. That's JumpstartCoalition.org. We've talked about some of the things you need to teach your children to start managing their finances, but as a parent, there are still some things you still have to do for your children. Janet has put together Dr. Tightwad's list of things you need to do for your kids. Janet, what are a few of them?
A few of them are, Kelvin, to make a will and name a guardian for your children so that you can dispose of your financial assets, and in particular, make sure that your children are taken care of if you and your spouse happen not to be there if something horrible should happen. That's number one. Another thing is to buy insurance to protect your family. You probably don't need insurance when it's just the two of you. When you have a family, you really do. Anywhere between 5 and 10 times your annual salary. If you want to split the difference and call it 8 times your salary, that's a good thing to aim for. Another thing you need to do for your kids is to start a college saving plan. And it doesn't have to be a big one. Don't be intimidated by all the huge numbers that you hear about the cost of college. Start small and have grandma and grandpa and all the aunts and uncles that give the kids gifts over the years contribute to the fund instead of giving them toys that they might not play with. And finally, save for your own retirement. It may sound selfish, but you know, you really have to take care of number one. No one's going to take care of you. So if you have access to retirement plans at work, take advantage of those so that you can take care of yourself and your kids won't need to worry about it.
I want to thank you all for being with us. You can pick up more of Janet's wisdom on the web at www.kiplinger.com. There are also many wonderful books on the market to help you teach your kids about money. So I encourage you to visit both the personal finance and the children's section in your local bookstore and library. Again, I want to thank all of my guests for being here today and for their efforts to educate our children about money.
Knowledge TV Retro, brought to you by Jones International University, the first fully online accredited university. Change your life for the better on your schedule. 8-week classes begin next month. Visit jiu.edu to find out more.